am so excited to be talking to one of my favorite comedians today, the fabulous Lisa Baker. You may recognize Lisa from TV. She's done it all. And most recently, she's been, well, taking over TikTok in a major way. We're going to get into that. But the main reason she's here is because this Sunday, January 22nd, I'm so excited that they've asked me to open for them the Beauty and the Beast tour. It's coming to Kingston. Lisa Baker, Darren Frost. This show is going to be off the hook.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I've worked with Darren before in the past. I opened for Darren and Kenny years ago, Rank and Ball. I worked with first time I ever met Darren was Newfoundland many years ago when the Yucks was there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and then I had worked with him there. So, and he's always been wonderful to me. So it was great to have the opportunity to be able to go on the road with him.
And every time that I've been sharing the poster for this, I have to say, not for the faint of heart, because if you know Darren, you know that it's not for like everybody's grandma.
No, and certainly these shows are not going to be they're not like Rank and Ball, like it's not good, but we're both pretty uncensored in our approach to stand up. You know, I can work clean, I do corporates, all that kind of stuff. But we don't prefer it. We would rather not have restrictions. So yeah.
Listen, girl, I work a morning radio. We've got restrictions. So I got to get it out on stage with you guys.
Yes, exactly. Right. And so that's usually how it is. It's like our day-to-day life. We're so censored, right?
People can also check out your newest comedy album, Supernewfie. It's out now. Yes. But let's start with TikTok, because this blew up for you. I guess it was really during the pandemic, right?
It was in March of 2021. I had 344 followers. And then by that summer, I had 200,000.
And what do you credit it to? Was it just because you leaned into the Newfie thing, or what happened?
Look, if I knew, I would, capitalize more on it. I don't know.
It's awesome.
I know one day I just did a silly video, a stitch with another video. I posted it and I went and I ran errands. And when I came home, I was like, this went viral. And then my following was just going nuts. And then I just kept hitting it, every day, making this content. And then next thing I knew was all these followers. But the thing was, people were like, well, it may not translate into like butts and seats at shows.
Oh,
because it hasn't for everyone who's sort of grown quickly on TikTok or has a huge following. So I was like, all right. And then I started doing like bookings and putting it out there on TikTok that I'm, a comic. And first, before we could do shows, we were just selling merch, and my album's like crazy on the website. And then we went into live shows again, and it was working. Like it was becoming like, people are coming to the show now. So,
oh wow!
And that's when I quit my job and went full force.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited for you. I did not think that's what you were going to say, because my experience has been, it does not translate to butts and seats. Just because you can get 300 likes on a selfie doesn't mean you're going to sell 300 tickets. And that's definitely been my experience. So I'm so glad that you've seen the opposite.
Yeah. And I don't know, like people ask me, like comedians will say like, how did you do it? And I'm like, oh, you think I did this on purpose? You think I was just sitting on this little nugget for the last 16 years of my career, waiting for the right time, and I decided it was middle age and during a pandemic.
Well, hey, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Isn't that what they say?
Right? It just fell there.
Your talent is undeniable, though, and if it wasn't, then I don't think that it would have continued. Now we're in 2023. It's been a solid 3 years of this, and you're still going strong. So good for you.
Well, that was the other thing, because there were, of course, what the industry is like, Jesse. So there were comics that were very salty about the fact that I was suddenly very successful. And I said, and the thing that they were saying was what bothered me, because I was like, you're allowed to be jealous. You're allowed to be angry about it. You're like, you can feel your feelings and feel free. And feel free to talk trash about me even. But don't act like I didn't earn this, I don't deserve it, or I'm not capable of this job. Like, don't act like that. Yeah. That was the thing that bugged me, is when, it's like, well, because I can do this.
Also, don't act like you wouldn't do the same thing if you had these opportunities presented to you. But you know what? 100%. Maybe they wouldn't, because one of the things I admire about you is your work ethic. You're not afraid of hard work. And I've followed you since 2020, and I see how hard you hustle to produce your tour and to book venues and stuff like that. And I don't know that all comics have that in them. So what made you decide to, like, you know what, I'm doing this myself?
So for a long time, I was represented by an agency, and I did what most comics do. You kind of wait for work. For the first while, I did that. And then after a while, I started sort of realizing, okay, so I need to go actually get things. So I would ask, I would, try for stuff and get them. And then, it got bigger and bigger. And so every year I would be a little more successful in the sense that, I was doing more shows, I was getting paid more money, that kind of thing. And then I got to the point when all of this happened where I realized, like, nobody's going to come and take control of my career for me. Nobody's going to come to me and say, you're doing very well, I'm going to take over, I'm going to book all of this stuff for you. And even when they do, like, I had one producer, because I started out producing myself, like, when all of this happened.
Yeah.
And I did it because I just felt like nobody else was invested as I was in my career.
It's your business.
And so, yeah, 100%. And of course, too, the fact that the agencies weren't realizing, like, even showing the numbers, even them seeing the numbers, they were like, no, this is how we're doing it. And I was like, but this doesn't make sense. Like, why didn't you just tell me you don't like money? Like, why didn't you just say that? You would save us so much trouble, So I was like, all right, I'm done here. And I quit. I quit the agency after 13 years.
Wow.
And then just producing myself. But yeah, it's a ton of work. And I just felt like I was the only one who was invested, but at one point I was like, maybe I should use, like, a producer in an area, boots on the ground. Like, it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I get a hold of this producer that I've worked with before, who had just brought me in, like, a booker / producer to do his run of shows.
Okay.
And he goes, he's like, I want 30%. And I was like, that seems
30?
like right? I was like, that's steep. But I knew the potential. And I said, we've got a good earnings potential out there. So yeah, okay, fine. And then I'm messaging him. He's like, yeah, I'm working on this run. I gave him the list of places I wanted to do. He's like, I got it. So finally, it was supposed to be like almost a 2-week run. I get it. It's a week. And it shows that are literally like 12-minute drives from each other. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And so it finally got to the point where I just started screaming at him, like, and he goes, well, I go, like, where's your Instagram? And he goes, well, we don't have Instagram. I go, Instagram. So I'm like, I was like, teaching him how to promote. So I'm like, schedule Facebook posts. Like, you can do that when you have time. And then it just automatically, he goes, what do you mean? And I go, how do you not know this?
Yeah.
And so he goes, well, Lisa, I'm not quite savvy. I go, then you don't charge 30%. If you're not going to give me 30%,
value. Yeah.
Anything, then you don't charge 30. So at last going off, we didn't have a contract. So I said, I'm going to pay you what I think you deserve. And I did. And I only paid him a few $100 because I was like, you literally use every room that you would use no matter who you brought in. You didn't book half the places I wanted. You lazily just went, oh yeah, I'm working on it. But meanwhile, these are already monthly rooms you have established.
Wow. And being so close together, people want to see you. They're not going to come again 10 minutes down the road. So
no.
Yeah, that's just.
Yeah. So learn a lesson on that one.
Well, and then you realize, you know what, I could do this better myself. There's another saying, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And so
that's where I'm at. Yeah. I was like, nope. And I have a thing about control, like just relinquishing control regardless. Yeah. Like when it comes to like my life, I'm like, nope. And so I just was like, let's go back to doing everything ourselves.
Wow.
There are people, and like Darren he's like me. We do the same thing. So working with Darren, it was like I could breathe. It was like I knew he was going to take care of everything. I knew that he was like, I'm here. I'm familiar with all of this. I got it. And so on our end, my fiance designed the posters and stuff. And we took some of that responsibility, but Darren's been phenomenal.
Yeah. He's a smart, great guy, of course. And shout out to your fiance, Brett. We love Brett.
Everybody loves Brett. Yeah, I think I was like, I'm pretty sure all the comedians like him now more than they like me, which is fair. But yeah, and he's great because he's super invested. So he's very good with helping me kind of keep expenses down, like finding the best way to do stuff. So it's been really good. I've been very lucky.
Okay, well, let's talk a bit about your newfound fame, newfound fame, because I remember the first time I met you was in Ottawa, and all the other comedians on the show just wanted 30 seconds of TikToks with you.
Yeah.
I even did. And so there was literally a lineup from you at one for you, not from audience members, but from other comics, like, do a TikTok with me. What's your feelings about that? Like, I'm sure it's awesome, but like, I know you've been a stand-up for a long time. You've been involved in comedy. So to see it change overnight like that, just because of TikTok, was that a win for you? Or does it kind of make you feel like I could do so much more?
Well, yeah, like it's like a little both.
Yeah.
It's definitely a win. But of course, yeah, there's, at first it was funny because people would be like, "You're that girl from TikTok," and I would say to my fiance, I was like, "CBC debaters, JFL Northwest."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
TV,
you
you
just
just did a TV show.
I just filmed a TV show and then was brought on in season 2 as an actor and a writer. So it's like, and I'm about to record my 5th debaters in February. Like, so I'm
Nice.
doing all this stuff and people are just like TikTok. And then I just embraced it. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? It is what it is. And my following, they're lovely people. Like, I couldn't ask for any better. And I said, if it's TikTok, then it's TikTok. And there are people though that are now going, like, they'll say to me, "Oh, you did this. Is it online?" And then they'll go listen to it. So I'm like, this is great. Now I'm just kind of directing people towards this stuff and can use TikTok as a way to promote the things like the
Oh, yeah.
show, or tours, anything. But yeah, and then I'm going to do a Fringe festival, my first one this year.
Nice.
So I've been I'm pushing my own boundaries. I'm trying to keep myself. I'm trying to have a bunch of different projects with a bunch of different sort of all kind of comedy focused, but
Yeah.
different ways.
What's your feeling about when you put a special out or record an album? Do you continue to use that material or do you retire it immediately?
I don't retire it. I will continue to use it to a certain extent, but I try to write a new hour every year.
Wow.
And so it's sometimes it just kind of falls to the wayside because of I have other material.
That's better.
But,
yeah.
But there's times I'll go into a place I've never been before and I'm like, I can use this joke or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't
you love that? Don't you love going to new places? I do, because like I do a lot in Ottawa, but it's like every time I'm like, oh God, they're going to see the same jokes. So when it's a new city, I'm like, yeah, bring out the oldies.
Well, it's the stuff that it might be the stuff that's your favorite to perform,
exactly.
right? So yeah, and of course, like my albums aren't on Spotify, so I know that anyone that's listening to my albums is either because they purchased a physical copy or downloaded a digital copy. So like they're not just hearing it randomly, or maybe bits on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So I'm like, they might have heard one joke, but the vast majority of people haven't heard them at all.
Yeah.
And there's people who will come up at a show too and say to me like, "Are you gonna do like the joke about blah blah?"
Yeah.
I'm like, they're requesting the greatest hits. They're like, "I want that one."
And that's the thing. Just like, we want to hear Like a Prayer from Madonna or We'll Be Pissed. Yes. So it's not always a bad thing. I ask because I have friends, or even it was my sister actually that made this comment, but she was going to see a comedian. This was a couple years ago, and she was disappointed because she had already watched all the jokes on YouTube. And so I kind of had to explain to her, show behind the curtain, it's not all new every time. We do have jobs. We have to sleep. Like,
yeah. Well, my dad was like, "So do you do a new set every night?" And I was like, no. I was like, when you go see Bryan Adams or Shania or someone, are they doing a whole new set? No, they're doing the songs. But
yeah,
I do try to limit the content that is released online, like say through TikTok clips or YouTube or whatever, because it does burn material way more than releasing an album.
Yeah.
And so teasers are good, just put, like, you'll see people put a whole 10-minute set. I'm like, no, you get one joke.
Yeah, one joke
out of that set. And it's enough for people to be able to, like, for you to establish, like, look, I'm funny. Come watch. And or even if people can watch and be like, that's not my thing. Fair enough, right? It just gives you like an idea. And I think that's a better approach.
Okay, you mentioned that your followers are great, and I've seen in the comments how awesome some of them are. However, this morning you had a very interesting Facebook status about the psycho stalker. Was that a joke or is that real?
No, it's real. So back in
Because
September,
yeah.
this guy, yeah, he just started commenting on my TikToks. And it was one of those cases of, you know, I don't really block people a whole lot unless they start going after the followers.
Right.
And so he did. And so I deleted his rude comments to them and blocked him. And then he followed me to like Twitter and stuff, and I blocked him everywhere. But I did notice that he's actually harassing other comedians, especially
Oh.
women. Yeah. And so it was funny though, because I guess he had created a new TikTok account. I don't know if his first one got banned or if he just wanted another one or what. But he created this new TikTok account and he found my account again. He starts coming at me again, like the other day, like 2-3 days ago. And he's going on and on. And I'm like, dude, like I blocked you in September and I haven't given you a single thought since. But clearly, I've been running around in your head rent free.
Right.
So of course I use it as an opportunity because he was incensed. Like if I got screenshots where it's like Bobby, like all his comments, like right in a row. Like he was just steady. And again, this time again, it happened where he was saying things to the following. I deleted those comments and blocked him, but he had also tagged in a comic that I worked with, a female comic that I worked. So I was like, he's going after mine because he goes, should I bother your friends? And so he started going after and I was like, we're not doing this. And yeah, and then I did a video where I list all my dates.
Yeah, you're so clever.
Well, and because people are like, I mean, okay, look, we have one of two things here, Jesse. We either have a guy that just has no life, who is completely bored, who is only brave behind a keyboard, and a grown man who is spending a ridiculous amount of time and effort to harass strangers on the internet, or we have a crazy person who could be dangerous. Either way, he can find out where I am. You can go to my website, you'll know where I am all the time. Mm-hmm. And I've thought about this before because I've had issues before where people have said, I'm going to come to one of your shows. And because I've got a bit of a mouth on me. But what they don't realize is if they watch the video where the heckler threw a table at me.
Yes.
And my reaction to that is, oh, come at me, bro.
Okay.
I am a 45-year-old woman who's been angry since age 35. I don't know why. Hormones or something. And by the time I hit 40, I just didn't care anymore. So I'm like, I have one good fist fight left in me where I might just have to like just stretch for a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we using it for? And I'm like, I would absolutely love to use it on a person like that. Because the thing is, like, even in Sylvan, when the table got flipped, because it doesn't matter what I do, it's always going to be my fault.
Okay, but what happened? Let's take it back because I haven't talked to you since that video went viral. You were at a show. There was a drunk idiot. He flipped a table. Like if you follow her on social, you can go find that video. It's probably all over YouTube now too. But what happened in that moment?
Well, so what happened was they had been asked to leave. They showed up, but they were very excited. This table of people, they all knew each other, and the venue was sold out, and the venue had only they had more capacity, like they could have more people in there. They just didn't have the tables and chairs for it, so they brought in those like foldable, those tables. Yeah. I don't know what everybody else calls them, but I call them beer pong tables.
Exactly.
And so, right? And they bring one of those in, and they're sitting there, but they're already drunk and they're becoming more and more rowdy. And I start to notice, like they've been spoken to several times, and then I see the tables around them getting angry. And that's when I get upset because I'm like, you know what? You're not entitled to come here and be a jerk and ruin this for everyone because you bought a ticket, because all those people worked hard for their money and also bought tickets.
Yeah.
So you get to go. So the producer comes over and he's like, you got to leave. And so everyone gets up to walk away. And the one guy flips the table, which if you watch the video, it's quite violent. I'm assuming he might've been too drunk to realize that the table wouldn't just turn over, that it was a lightweight table. So the entire table flipped up onto the stage because I wasn't level with the floor. Like I was on a raised platform.
Yeah.
Onto the stage. And it was covered in glasses and bottles. So everything shattered. There was booze all over me. And some people watched that and said, like, what did you say? What did you say to make him mad? I was like, why don't you tell me what I could have said to make a man assault me?
Good point.
But also I said nothing. I said like they were just asked to leave. And up to that point, all the audience members that were there can, they can verify they were enjoying the show. They were having a good time, but they were being rowdy about it. But immediately, like in my mind, when that happened, like when I thought about it after, I thought that I had taken a moment to process, laid the microphone down, and went to confront the gentleman. And then I get the security footage, and I'm like, that's not even remotely what happened.
Oh, you were ready to go.
I threw the mic down, jumped out of the stage, clean out of my shoes because I was wearing slides, and in my bare feet. And I remember I was saying, like, what are you doing? What is wrong with you? And he smacked my hand, and then I did it again, and then he hit my chest, and I go, okay, I'll throw hands with you. Let's go. And then at that moment, and all of this happened very quickly, but in that moment, I was just immediately surrounded by men who just pushed me back out of the way and went after him. And then that was it. He was removed, and then I carried on. I finished the show.
Surprised you weren't like to those men that surrounded you. Off, I can do this myself.
Oh, I kind of was mad after when I watched. I was like, look at that. Look, not one of them threw a punch. I was ready to go.
You know,
this was my time to shine.
Well, you did, Lisa, because so many of us would have just, I probably would have ran backstage like a little, but and then you finished the show.
I finished the show, and because I came in and I was like, hey, everybody, I'm good with it. So if you're good with it, do you want me to go finish? And they were like, please. So I did. And they were so grateful. Everybody was so lovely. Everybody was so supportive and concerned. I was getting messages for days from audience members, like asking if I was okay. It was crazy. And it was funny. I got a lot of messages from male comedians across the country who were like, of all the comedians.
Right.
And like even Derek's again, we did a debaters back in October.
Yeah.
And Derek was asking me about it. And you know, Derek just goes, of all the comics to throw a table at, he picked like buddy. And I go, I know, like most of the dudes in the industry will absolutely tuck tail and run. But I'm not that person. No. So if you ever go on the road and you're like looking for someone who's funny, but also can protect you, it's me.
Well, this is why I'm so glad to be on your show on Sunday.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, I will.
But isn't that an interesting thing, is that that comedy is a weird place, because yes, we want people to drink and have fun if that's your thing, but it is a lot like theater in the sense that you're here to watch a show, shut your mouth. And I feel like that's an aspect some people don't understand too.
Yes. And I've been trying to sort of change how people see stand-up too, because I'll book shows every single night of the week, right? Mm-hmm. And there are people who absolutely were like, on a Monday night, that sucks. And it's like, right. Because I want people to treat stand-up like not a party night. It's the same as going to a show, like at the theater or a movie. So you're going to go out. Yes, you can have a few drinks, right? You can have a good time, watch the show, you know, buy some food, tip your servers, all that stuff. And then when the show is over, you can go home. And I try to have my shows, you know, wrapped up by 9:30. Yeah. You know, 10 at the very latest. So people are able to leave. And because the thing is with stand-up too, is like, it's such a beautiful, intimate art form. And we need the connection with the audience and stuff like that. And it's definitely better if the audience is not totally inebriated. Yeah. And I've noticed that my following, the vast majority are women my age, right? Okay. And women my age, I feel like for so long, we've been ignored when it comes to media, you know, music, movies, live entertainment. There are things for us, but like you look at something like Grace and Frankie, the success of a show like that for senior citizens. I watched Grace and Frankie. Yeah. And, you know, the moment when like Sam Elliott and Jane Fonda finally climb into bed together and you're like, yeah. You're like cheering for these senior citizens to get it on. And it's, people looked at that and was like, oh, it's so great. It's incredible. It's so successful. And it was like, has anybody bothered to look at the fact that it's so successful, but show me something else even remotely like it, directed to that same sort of demographic. And so I feel like for me, I'm just hitting a group that's been ignored for so long. Yeah. And it blows my mind because women my age, you know, a lot of us are independent. We're making our own money. We have money to spend. We want to go out and do things. We're well behaved usually when we are, you know, so it's like the ideal group of people that you would want anywhere, but nobody cares, you know, and it's like, they'll and what blows my mind about comedy in this country is the fact that they're so scared of a female on stage. Like the clubs and stuff, it's like, oh, female headliner. And it's like, who's buying the tickets? Women. Women. When a man walks in the door and he says, I want to go see anyone, Luke Combs is in Edmonton this weekend, or whatever his name is. And then the wife's buying the tickets. Yeah. Men very rarely do that. And if she wants to see a show, she's buying it. We plan the date night. I'm gonna target that and acknowledge that, because at the end of the day, it's the same as like when I go into a place and they start talking to the man that's with me.
Yeah.
And the man has to say, I'm sorry, but she's the one in charge here. Like when Brett and I traveled one time, we went to, on a vacation, and they kept asking about him. And I said, like, oh, well, when you get Mr. Brett, you get Mr. Brett to come down. And I go, So I just let you know that that's my credit card on file. That's my name on the booking. That's mine. Mine. You know what I mean? And so it's but it's just assumed it's all the dude. Totally. And I don't want to do that. I want to target them, and I want to be blatant about it. And I want to be like, this is for you.
Okay, the table flip, 2 questions. Do you think the whole Will Smith thing at the Oscars contributed to it? And has it made you nervous going forward?
So the Will Smith thing, no, I don't think it contributed. Did it embolden some people? Possibly. Comedians being assaulted has been a thing for years and years and years and years. I mean, dating back, I'm sure, to the Jesters, right? Mm-hmm. So we've always been at risk of being assaulted. I mean, there was a time we were at risk of being thrown in jail. Yeah. I mean, Lenny Bruce, I believe, was the one that was like, it's always been a thing that we have to worry about, and people are very quick, reactionary. And it's funny because it's the same group of people that screams that everybody's offended by everything, and cancel culture is a real problem. Yeah, they're the ones that are like, wah, I want to hit someone. Yeah. And so I don't think Will Smith made it worse at all. I think it's always there. And it's always a concern, always for me.
Well, yes, and me too. And knock on wood, I've been very fortunate. But one thing that you and I have in common is that we kind of lean into the stereotypes of our people. And I really go ham with the gay thing. And so that scares me every time I step on stage. But I found actually that the more redneck or more small the town is, the better I do, because they're like, it's David from Schitt's Creek. It's more the big cities that they're kind of like, he's perpetuating stereotypes. Do you find the same thing?
Yes, and it's why I've been leaning towards more smaller towns. But I do have cities where I have really great established sort of like a following that will come to the shows, and they're fabulous. So I'm like, no, I can go there because I've got those people. I have a theory though about why small towns are better. And my theory is the whole, and I've mentioned it to someone before, and I feel like this is why representation is so friggin' important, because when you go into a small town, Jesse, as a queer comic, I would imagine it is very, very daunting for you and worrisome, right? Like
at the beginning for sure, but now I know it works.
Now you know. Yeah. But my theory is that we make the assumption, of course, that it's going to be this way, and it's not without reason. But I think sometimes in certain places, and I feel this way because of Newfoundland, so. If you're not exposed to an actual live human being who fits into a certain thing, like a marginalized group. Right. So in your mind, like it's just whatever you've been fed or whatever you hear around you. But you walk in, Jesse, as a flesh and blood human, and then you entertain them and you make them laugh and you make them comfortable and you make them feel kind of safe in the room. Like you're not going to, upset them. And so now you're a real person that they're like, oh, I actually like the queers because that guy was real funny. Right. You know what I mean? And I find it with comics of color and stuff. But the only thing is, of course, is that you're still talking about people who have a tendency sometimes to, I know in Newfoundland, to be like, I've had friends of mine who'll do things. And I'm like, that's actually kind of racist. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I get it. You have the best of intentions. I understand. But you just didn't know, Yeah. And that's the thing. And so sometimes I think they just need to see someone and be like, oh. So he's not going to run in through town wearing leather with the flag and.
Well, maybe I would, but we won't start there.
No, that's right. We'll ease you into that.
Yeah, right. Isn't that you just summed up the beauty of comedy and the magic of what this does for people, right? If you can turn people around, and that's just why I do it. That's why I love it. And
you have that power because you have the gift of the talent of being a funny person. Yeah. And like I said, it's so important to have the representation. Like this is why I feel, and there's comics who hate that. They're like, oh, they're just filling the niche spot or the, that they have that spot that's for them, the minority spot. And I'm like, I'll give it up. I have so many opportunities. I'm not going to go hungry or not be able to pay the bills because they gave, another, even queer shows. I won't, as a pansexual woman, I won't, because I'm in a heteronormative relationship.
Right.
I'm like, no, put people up there that need to be seen, that we need out there representing the community.
Well, it's just like you said at the beginning, those people that complain about how quickly you rose to success. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm filling a box. Think you can do a gay act better? Go ahead. Why are they booking me? Like,
right. So and 16 years I've been in this business, and I've only been taking it seriously for about 7, but still, it's not like it's not like I got on stage, did 5 minutes, and then next thing you know, it's like I'm on friggin', late night talk shows.
Right.
And,
Not yet. Who are some of your inspirations? We got to wrap up in a minute, but I'm just curious, do you have any? For me, it's Joan Rivers, Phyllis Diller, all the bitchy ladies. That's who I want to be.
I feel like over the years, there's comics that I'd sort of kind of get pieces from each one. You know what I mean? Like certain things, of course, Joan and Phyllis. And growing up, Roseanne Barr was probably one of the first.
Yes.
And her stand-up was great. And then, as I got older, it was, I remember the first comedy special I ever watched was one of Eddie Murphy's, and sitting there thinking, and I was probably 12. Yeah. And I was like, I want to do that. And of course, I'm in Newfoundland. I'm like, that's never going to happen. And then it did. So here we are. But
yeah,
Kenny, Darren, Derek Sagan is my absolute.
Love him.
I mean, right. And now that he's one of my friends, it still blows my mind that he texts me on my birthday, or when I'm in town, we'll see, it's the coolest thing that to meet a hero and they're actually good, they're a good person. Yeah.
Well, Lisa, that's kind of how I feel about this interview. So thank you for doing it. Are you still doing cameos? Can people book you on Cameo?
Oh, yeah. I do cameos, memos, and I'll do them anonymously. So if you want me to tell someone off, I'm your girl. Oh, yeah. I won't even say who did this. I'll be like, who, what you did.
Okay.
So I'm still doing all that stuff too, and touring the country and getting married in June. Oh, God, there's a lot. Grandbaby is coming. I got a grandbaby coming in a couple of hours.
Oh, a grandbaby?
My stepson and daughter-in-law about to have their baby boy. He's breech. He won't turn, so they have to do the cesarean section.
Oh, yeah.
So she's in the hospital in another few hours. We'll be officially grandparents.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You are going to be busy this year. The Canoe Project, that's coming out soon if it's not already. And we'll see what your next album sounds like.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. We're recording that in March 17th at Yucks in Edmonton. We're recording a video special. But then tomorrow I fly to Ottawa to start my run of shows. Yeah.
And I'll see you on Sunday in Kingston. And maybe will people get a little taste of what they can expect on the upcoming album?
Yes, they absolutely will. Because I'm trying to work on a bunch of different kind of sort of a bunch of different arrangements along the way to see which one I kind of like best for the album. Yeah. And so we kick it off in, I'm going to do the Yucks clubs in Ottawa, the place in the Ottawa West. But then, we go into Kingston, we got Henmer. I've never been to Henmer.
Me neither.
Alexandria, Cornwall, Sault Ste. Marie. There's so many places I've never been to do stand-up. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, Sault Ste. Marie is going to be fun. Our girl Carla Collins, that's where she's from. So that's going to be good. So yeah, I'm glad you plugged all those, because if you can't make it to Kingston on Sunday, there's plenty of chances to see Lisa and Darren in the area before their tour moves on. The Beauty and the Beast. I wonder who's who.
I know, right? That's what I always said too. I was like, it's going to be a toss-up.
I'll be the Beauty on Sunday, okay?
You're definitely the Beauty. Yeah, I've seen you. You're freaking tiger's blood or something.
You and me both, Lisa.
That skin.
So nice to chat with you. And I'm so pumped for this show. Sunday night at the Mansion here in Kingston. It's going to be a great time.
It is. Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to see you again.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.